So, I finally brought back this dumpster fire of a series. This is a complete guide for all of the storyline bosses in Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. The reason that none of the optional bosses appear is because I wanted to save them for their own little dumb video in the near or distant future. I'll leave timestamps in the description below so that you can find the bosses that really bust your chops. Finally, keep in mind that I'll be referring to the versions on normal difficulty. So I will give you information that will probably be inaccurate for other difficulties like easy, hard, or unknown. So without further ado, let us commence. The number one thing to remember about this fight is that the story will progress regardless of whether or not you win, so you really shouldn't care too much. But, if you want to maintain your pride, you're gonna want to win. First of all, abuse the free run ability and lure them into assaulting you individually, as the one is slower than the other. To do this successfully, make them spread out and then get very close while running past them. This will bait them into attacking, which allows you to hit them with a full combo without any consequence as long as they're separated. After that combo, guard the counterattack that they'll probably do, and run away, repeating the strategy until you have eliminated at least one of them. I'd recommend beating up Boccos first, because he can stun lock you with his spear and roll attacks. Once one is gone, the other will be a total pushover, and you can just treat them like you would any enemy in an action RPG. This is arguably the first hard fight in the game, and will probably kick your butt to the curb and back if you aren't expecting him. The first thing you'll want to do is eat the curry in the kitchen, and then use a holy bottle to avoid all encounters on the way to the boss. Make sure you are at least level 6, although level 5 is fine as well, but 6 is better, and have around 10 apple gels. The guards around the castle drop them when you kill them. Once the first phase starts, you should use the exact same tactic from the previous boss, which can be summarized as bait them, hit them, then run away or guard, and then run away if you guarded. Besides this, make sure to guard all of his attacks if you find yourself in the way of them, except for Falling Leaf, as it does no damage and is only there to break your guard so he can follow up with Cyclone Shot or something. If he successfully attacks you while you aren't guarding, he is almost guaranteed to get a full combo on you. Other than that, this phase really isn't too bad. Deplete his HP and you'll enter the second phase. During this phase, the noble woman will join the battle and act as a damage dealer and a healer. Zagi will also gain 500 extra HP, and then restore to full health. If you want to accomplish the secret mission, go into the strategy menu and make her keep her distance from Zagi. Set her first aid ability to a shortcut in the arts menu, and then continue the battle as you did before. This is where the stockpile of apple gels may really start to matter. With that amount of preparation, you should be fine. Based on his first few stats, you would assume that this fight is pretty difficult. However, he's actually a complete pushover when you're using the correct strategy. His true weakness is his terrible magic defense, so having Rita spam her magic spells will absolutely melt through the boss's HP. However, it does hit like a truck, so having Estelle constantly healing is going to be a huge lifesaver. Having plenty of apple and orange gels can do nothing but help you, so be sure to buy some before the fight starts. The hit and run tactics that I mentioned earlier don't really work very well here, because he doesn't stagger when you hit him since he is several times larger than you are. In fact, he'll stagger you when you hit him instead. As for the secret mission, he uses the X-Buster move very frequently. When he does this, make sure you're behind him, and then use an attack with Yeager that hits multiple times. This should be enough to knock him down, accomplishing the secret mission. It may take multiple tries, but you'll get it eventually. Say hello to that boss that everybody hates. Every game has one, and this is Vesperia's that boss. First of all, don't let the low magic defense tempt you. Rita is going to be getting attacked way too often for her to get any spells off. Second of all, it's suicide to enter the fight unless you are at least level 16. Thirdly and finally, when you get to a safe point near a cliff and a clearing, immediately go back to Holler and buy the best gear you possibly can for Yuri, Estelle, Repeat, and Carol. You should also buy the maximum amount of apple gels and life balls you possibly can. If you don't have enough money for a grind, because you'll need them. Every single one of them. Then use a holy bottle and run back to the save point. Now for the real thing. The 2 extra cubs are nothing but nuisances, so you have to kill them as fast as you possibly can. Do anything in your power to make sure that they die first. Don't be surprised if Gattuso has killed off many of your party members as you have his children by the time the job is done. If you have Yuri's Destruction Field art, be sure to use it at the end of every combo, using an orange gel every time his TP runs low, if you still have any. Overlimit is a must-have if you're playing as Yuri, or as Rita if you feel like ignoring everything I just said, you stupid Neanderthalic dumbass. If you want the secret mission, lure him into one of the flowers with his swipe or dash attack. This will stun everyone in the immediate area, and if you are not stunned, you can simply hit Gattuso with an art that hits multiple times, like Wolf Strike, and it'll be guaranteed to knock him down. This is easier said than done, so don't be surprised if it takes a couple tries. However, even if you're using the strategy I mentioned, it's very possible that Gattuso's fast and ruthless attacks will kill your entire party even if you did everything perfectly. If you're playing on any difficulty above normal, God help you. I hope you're playing on New Game Plus with experience multipliers. Compared to the previous fight against Zagi, this is child's play. You just bring your favorite characters into the fight, and then you cream him against the wall. If anything, the hardest part of the fight is the secret mission. To knock Zagi overboard, you have to kite him very close to the edge of Yuri, and then go into overlimit. The knockback from initiating the overlimit probably won't knock him off, and if that does happen, you use Fang Strike and then Crushing Eagle in rapid succession. This should knock him overboard with any luck if your positioning is correct. You are required to use a party of Yuri, Estelle, Repeat, and Rita in this fight. Before the battle even starts, make sure to have as many gels as possible. Also ensure that Estelle's Photon art, and every single one of Rita's arts except Fireball is turned off, as the boss will resist or absorb every other art. When the fight starts, it will only be Yuri. You don't stand a chance solo, so just run around until the rest of the party joins the fray. Attacking the giant will result in almost always activating its Reflect Shield, so it's best to use your multi-hit arts and then Azure Edge and Destruction Field. In order to accomplish the secret mission, you must wait until he stands on his hind legs. When this happens, you must attack him at least twice in the split second you have before it comes back down. Using a Cerberus Strike usually gets the job done, but practice does indeed make perfect. This fight isn't technically a boss fight, but can be rather challenging, so yeah. Anyways, you will be fighting alone with Yuri, and you have to win the battle this time. This fight can be fairly difficult since you can't buy anything in anticipation for the fight. This means that if you wasted all your gels on the fight against a Dread Giant, this fight is now 10 times more difficult. Luckily, you have just learned how to use the Burst Art. Use this new knowledge to your advantage. The hit and run tactics that I mentioned earlier are still completely valid here, and you'll want to focus on doing a single target again. That last sentence becomes invalid though when one of them enters overlimit. When this happens, you have two options. The first is to run away like a little baby, and the second is to engage the other target, which is far more dangerous, but, better at the same time. Your choice. Using your overlimit followed by an Arcane Art and then a Burst Art will deal plenty of damage and should be used at every opportunity. Burst Arts can be used as many times as the overlimit timer permits, so use that as you will. This fight can be really easy or really hard depending on how lucky you are. Gigalarva attacks pretty fast, and is fully capable of comboing your party to death. It can inflict status effects and even heal when it drops below half health. It even has overlimit, which is incredibly dangerous when fighting it. Luckily, Gigalarva has some easily exploitable weaknesses. The recommended party for this fight is Yuri, Estelle, Raven, and Rita, as they can all hit its weaknesses and accomplish the secret mission in Raven's case. This fight is essentially a damage check to see if you can kill it before it kills you. If you can't keep up with its healing, it'll eventually overwhelm you and you'll have to try the fight again. Luckily, it has 3 different weaknesses that can be exploited by 1 or more members of the party. To get the secret mission, you have to use Raven's Serpent Art. It's essentially a really powerful landmine, and knocks enemies back pretty far backwards when activated. You'll know he's about to heal when he slowly starts walking towards the puddle of green sludge at the edge of the arena. Place a serpent in there right before he arrives and hope he slurps in the right spot. Since he is a human enemy, you already know he has combos for days. Unlike a lot of other humanoid bosses, however, he has infinitely spawning thugs. That is, if you don't knock out the bridge supports. Even if you aren't planning on going after all the secret missions, I still highly recommend doing this one, as it prevents any more goons from spawning. All you have to do is walk to the bridge supports and do enough damage to destroy them. This is best done with Yuri, but you could easily do it with Repeat or Carol. The best party for this boss, though, is Yuri, Estelle, Rita, and Repeat. When or if you've killed all the supports and goons, you can just rush Barbos. Run back and heal every time your health gets low and you should be fine. Barbos can use overlimit too, so watch out for that, I guess. In all honesty, this fight is fairly easy. You can bring anyone into this fight as long as you have Estelle for healing. One thing to keep in mind though is that the Cursed Wanderer really likes to combo a lot, and is able to break out of your combo with one of his attacks. Plus he has pretty high HP for a boss at this point in the game, and he can rush around the arena fairly quickly. If any of that worries you, don't, because most of this doesn't matter anyway since he'll be dead before you know it. The secret mission is also really easy because the best way to accomplish it is by being absolutely relentless and attacking him constantly, even when it puts you in a little bit of danger. To summarize, this is going to be a very fast-paced fight, and that can be hard on some people, but as long as you protect your healer, you should be fine. As with the Gattuso fight, make sure to kill the boss's backup first, as they are the most annoying part of the fight. Once the henchmen are dead, Yeager himself goes down very easily, as he doesn't have much health for a boss at this point in the game. You can bring whoever you want into the fight as long as Estelle is part of the equation. Yet again you must fight Zagi. One thing to keep in mind is that you have to go through 4 Colosseum battles as Yuri before reaching him. Just maim the first 3, then run away for the 4th fight until Zagi appears. I hope you set up your party members ahead of time, because you aren't given a chance to swap them between fights. Now that the real fight has started, you can use the exact same tactics you used in the previous fight against Zagi. The only thing that's really changed is, everything, new attacks, new scenery, new secret mission, new stats, blah blah blah. Doesn't change the difficulty of the fight though, it's actually easier than the previous one. To finish this secret mission, just keep spamming arts as whoever you want on him until one of his arms breaks. This will remove a few of his attacks from the fight, which basically makes him an exact replica of the previous fight. Just beat him senseless after this and you'll win. This fight will be pretty standard at the start, until it splits apart into a bazillion bats. There are 3 types: Leader, Magic, and Attack. You're going to want to kill them in the order I just said, as it lets you accomplish the secret mission and make the fight easier. When you kill the Leader bat, the bats will no longer be able to combine into the previous form known as Pteropus. Depending on your situation, this can be considered a good or a bad thing, but that doesn't change that it finishes off that secret mission. On a different note, I'd recommend a party of Yuri, Rita, Raven, and Estelle. If you synthesize the Moon Protector item, this fight becomes way easier, as my strategy assumes you have the Moon Protector. Yuri is the character you control, Rita is the mass murderer and other character you control, Raven is the tank and backup healer, and Estelle is the main healer. The magic bats are very dangerous because they can cast powerful spells that can 2 or 3 shot you. After they are all dead, kill the remaining attack bats. Changing the AI in the strategy menu can help you if your party isn't doing exactly what you want them to. The reason that Rita is a mass murderer in this fight is because of the following bat elimination technique. Trademark. Switch to Rita, go into Overlimit, use Tractor Beam, then follow it up with her burst art known as Mystic Drive. Keep doing this and use limit balls when necessary because it really does destroy those bats. This fight can be very annoying, so be sure to have a party of Rita, Yuri, Raven, and Judah. Rita's spells are going to be your main method of completing a secret mission as well as damaging it. Using its own weakness against it will lead to it spitting out its core. When the core goes back into Outbreaker a few seconds later, it'll change the time of day, which will reverse its weakness and resistance. Hitting its weakness followed by going to Overlimit, then Tractor Beam, and then her Burst Art has a pretty high chance of killing the core when it's not moving, so it's best to control Rita for the part of the fight when you're doing the secret mission. If you have the item that lets you swap party members, you can swap to a party member you prefer and keep beating it until it's dead afterwards. A final thing to note is that even when the core is destroyed, it'll still have some pretty damaging attacks up its sleeve, so be sure to kill it as fast as possible when the mission has been completed. This fight can be quite difficult if you come unprepared, as the boss can combo you for a fair amount of damage, sometimes doing over half of your maximum health in 2 or 3 hits. She can dash across the room very quickly, she has close and long range attacks that can break your guard and knock you across the room. Luckily for you, her fight can be won pretty easily with enough planning and common sense. You can combo her down fairly quickly when your party is made up of Yuri, Rita, Raven, and Repeat. Rita is obviously the key here, as she can exploit Belius' weakness very often. Repeat is great because he has a weapon at the point in the game with the earth element attached to it. Raven is great for fast healing, and Yuri is great for dealing fast damage and dealing with the secret mission. The hardest part of the fight is when her double appears, mostly because she'll be dealing double the damage. You can knock her out of this phase permanently by hitting all 4 torches with a fire attack. Yuri's destruction field is basically required, as Rita's fireballs will not be able to light them fast enough before you get your ass handed to you. Once the torches are relit, the double will disappear forever and you will enter the damage race portion of the fight. Use Overlimit and Burst Arts as much as you possibly can to destroy her health bar. Pop a couple of apple tails and low balls every once in a while and you should be able to succeed. First things first, some people will find this fight harder than Gattuso. It all depends on playstyle and preparation. Part of this may be because you have to have Judith in your party, which means that you have to forfeit a spot in your team to fit her. Either way, the best party is Yuri, Judith, Raven, and Carol. Using Estelle or Rita is not recommended because you need tanks in order to outlast the enemies, especially Tison. This will also be the first fight in the game where the enemy can use Mystic Guards, which are basically their super attacks. Only Tison has his Mystic Guard, which can be very, very dangerous, but it doesn't factor into the kill order at all, surprisingly enough. You are required to kill Nan first, because she can heal and even resurrect Tison if you leave her alone. Set all of your party members to attack the enemy you're not attacking. This will keep Tison busy while you take over Yuri to solo Nan. A majority of her attacks are spells, meaning she has to stand still to cast them. That means that Yuri can always be attacking her except when she uses her handful of physical attacks, which should be guarded until they have finished. After you've finished obliterating Nan, go and join your party in beating up Tison. The secret mission is dependent on them using one of their attacks. Getting Tison knocked down should be easy with 3 people assaulting him at once. You may have to camp around Nan though while waiting for her to activate her needed move. Just hit her whenever she casts a spell so that she can't help Tison with free healing or damage while you're waiting. You'll know that each has been knocked down when a little cutscene is taken over and grid flashes across the screen. You need items in order to outlast this boss, as you don't have Raven or Estelle. That leaves Carol and Flynn as your only healers, which definitely isn't ideal. The party I would recommend for this fight is made up of Yuri, Flynn, Carol, and Repeat. Yuri and Flynn are going to be your main combo users, while Carol and Repeat are damage and support. If you have Repeat's Gale Dog art, this fight becomes quite a bit easier. As for Schwann himself, he hits very hard, and being hit once generally leads into a full combo. He has incredibly high movement speed for an enemy at this point in the game as well. On top of that, he's the first boss with over 100,000 HP, he can break out of your combos, and can also enter overlimit, which makes him complete hell to deal with. During his first overlimit, he'll use his Mystic Art Blast Heart, which can one-shot your characters if they are below half health. The secret mission requires you to hit him after he uses this, and he's basically wide open afterwards for like 3 seconds. Using a multi-hit move is near guaranteed to knock him down after he uses this. He will never use his Mystic Art again after this on normal, and he straight up never uses it on easy. It will most likely take several tries unless you are very cautious while fighting him. Having a recovery skill equipped is highly recommended. This fight is almost the exact same as the previous Zagi fight. The only thing that has changed are his stats, scenery, and the secret mission. After a certain amount of health has been depleted, he'll poison himself in order to use a couple of poison attacks against you. That poison is really the only dangerous thing about this fight, and that can be removed from the fight altogether by completing the secret mission. Basically, stand next to Zagi and tank his hits. Then when he poisons himself, enter the combat menu, select Carol, and tell him to cast Nice Recovery Smash on you. Since it is AoE, it'll hit Zagi and remove the poison. And there you go, the fight is now just as easy as the previous fight. The first phase is a 1v1 between Carol and Baitojoh. You usually can't win, you might be able to, but I don't think you can, honestly. During the second phase, though, where you actually can win through normal means, you'll have to have Carol in your party for it. So the best party becomes Yuri, Carol, Raven, and then rather Judith or Rita. It really depends if he wants long-range spells or aerial combat. This fight is fairly easy if you take a cautious approach. He will dive onto the ground very often, then his fin will pop out. You can walk up to it and hit it 3 times to knock it out of the ground and accomplish a secret mission. However, this is actually quite dangerous as someone pops back out of the ground very suddenly, which is a guaranteed stun if you don't block stuns. However, it doesn't really get all that dangerous beyond that. It does have a nice attack that hits very hard, but you'll learn its telegraphing very quickly. It can also be ignored fairly well with quick reaction timing and the guard button. Its overlimit is absolutely pathetic, and it disappears when it enters the ground. The only time the fight even gets hard is when your party runs out of TP, and that can be mitigated with items. This fight is without question the saddest in the entire game for multiple reasons. It's sad because of how the story builds it up, and it's sad because the white mage is whooping your ass. The first phase is ridiculously easy, she has way less health than the last few bosses, and she'll go down very quickly with a team of literally anyone. However, the fight gets hard as hell in the second phase. First of all, you have to fight her alone as Yuri, so you can't rely on your AI partners to save you. Second of all, the item required for the secret mission is a missable item from the first time you visited Mantake, so if you didn't get it then, you can't finish off the secret mission. Third of all, Jesus she hits hard. When guarding, she'll still do damage in the hundreds. She can break out of your combos and will kill you very fast if you underestimate her. However, she becomes ridiculous when she enters her overlimit. At this point, she'll be able to spam any of the spells she learned throughout the game, including Nurse and Angel Ring. On higher difficulties, Angel Ring can one-shot you. The best way to get past her overlimit is to do the following. Enter your overlimit level 3, wait for her to get up, do an Arcane Art, then do your Mystic Art. This will run out her overlimit timer and you'll hopefully finish her off before she goes into overlimit again. You can also use a hit and run strategy here, but it's far more dangerous since she does insane damage. It may take a few tries, but you'll eventually be able to beat her. This fight can be pretty challenging if you aren't careful. He attacks very fast and you can't interrupt anything he does without great timing and luck. His guard is very difficult to break. He can break out of your combos even after he's been stunned. He inflicts status ailments, and he can break your guard with most of his attacks. To deal with all this, you'll need a party of Yuri, Flynn, Estelle, and Raven. Yuri and Flynn may not be able to break his guard easily, but that doesn't discount the damage they still do. Estelle and Raven are there for support as always. Once he gets to about half health, he'll go into his second phase and gain 15,820 HP for some reason. He won't regenerate damage, he'll just gain it for no reason. He was able to overlimit in the first phase, but now he can use his Mystic Art Caress of Death, which has a chance of instantly killing those caught in the attack. Besides the overlimit change, he can also do more damage and he guards way more often. If you want to break his guard for the secret mission, you have two ways to do it. First, you can go into overlimit and spam Lone Wolf Charge or Destruction Field with Yuri until Yeager's guard breaks. And then switch to Raven, use his overlimit, and then spam Rain like it's a machine gun. The second way is to play Raven, go over an overlimit, just spam machine gun and hope to god that you can win. If none of these work, there's just a huge chance that RNGesus just hates you today. On the other hand though, you might just be underleveled. His secret mission is often regarded as the hardest in the entire game, so don't be surprised if it takes a couple tries. This is likely going to be one of the hardest storyline bosses in the game for 90% of players. He breaks out of combos very often, he hits very hard, he knows Tidal Wave, he has a huge amount of health, and I've seen his Mystic Art one-shot entire parties of full health. Your entire strategy for the fight should be centered around surviving his Mystic Art. Equip accessories that increase your health and defense, and skills that do the exact same thing. Keep Estelle and Rita out of the fight completely, because they are almost guaranteed to die to his Mystic Art every time he uses it unless you are over-leveled. The best party is Yuri, Flynn, Rapide, and Raven. Yuri and Flynn attacking together will keep him from breaking out of combos if you get near the edge of the arena. Rapide's Gale's Dog gives him temporary invulnerability, so you can use that to ignore part of his Mystic Art if necessary. Raven is there because he is a healer who can take a few hits. If you want, you can replace Rapide or Flynn with Carol if he has his Mjolnir weapon, since it'll enhance his healing like crazy. Just keep in mind that he will hit you more often if you decide to do this. Accomplishing the secret mission is actually easier as the fight goes on. This is because using his Mystic Art makes him tired, so the opening will be longer each time he uses it. Try to get it as early as you can though, so you'll have more time to recover after his Mystic Art during the later portions of the fight when your resources are worse. To make matters worse, he'll just pull out his Mystic Art without even entering overlimit randomly on higher difficulties, so just swallow your pride and beat the fight on normal or easy. Okay, so an editor's note for this portion of the video. The next two bosses can be done in any order you want, so I'll be talking about them in the order I personally fought them in. Thank you for listening, smash that fecking like button, and let's continue. This is literally just the Dread Giant, but slightly more powerful. The secret mission is the exact same as the original Dread Giant fight, and the fight itself is actually easier than the original version. Their attacks barely do any damage at all, they move very, very, very slowly, and the secret mission is easier than it was last time. You can bring any characters you want for this fight, as long as you have a healer. The secret mission requires you to hit it when it goes on its hind legs, as with the previous fight. This is incredibly easy now because half of its attacks require it to go on its hind legs, so you'll get tons of chances. You'll most likely get it without even trying, but try to use multi-hit arts to accomplish it faster. This fight is only going to be hard if you are aggressive with melee characters. Other aspects of her difficulty come from status ailments and powerful magic. However, Rita absolutely destroys her with magic, so this boss fight can be rather short if she is at a high level. Estelle is, however, useless here because the boss does absorb light attacks. Because of this, the best party is now Yuri, Rita, Raven, and Carol. Make sure to eat some magic defense food before fighting it to alleviate a little bit of the pain. The only dangers of this fight are her close range attacks, which only hit directly in front of her, and her homing fireballs, which should be guarded instead of dodged at all times because you aren't going to be dodging those things anytime soon. And trust me, I tried. As for the secret mission, just slash her a couple times after she slams into the ground from casting Earthquake. It's very easy to do, I did it within the first 5 seconds of the fight, so you really shouldn't worry about it. The Cursed Wanderer is back, and he's packing heat and something other than his gun this time. The first thing to know about this fight is that Patty is required as a party member. This really isn't all that big of a deal since she can technically cast any spell in the game, except for people's Burst and Mystic Arts, but that's pretty obvious. Because of this, the ideal party is Yuri, Patty, Estelle, and Rita. You have this party set up, the fight should be way easier, as Estelle can exploit his weakness with ease, while the rest can just do tons of damage all around. In all honesty, this fight is pretty easy as long as Estelle continues to have TP, so you really shouldn't be worrying all that much. Pop gels over healing isn't good enough and you'll probably win. The secret mission just requires you to use the Maristella from your item menu on the boss. This is a one-on-one duel between Yuri and Flynn, and you don't actually have to win in order to progress the story. However, this is a boss guide, so I'm going to tell you how to win the fight. First of all, immediately enter Overlimit level 4 when the fight starts and use your Mystic Art. This will cause Flynn to counter with his Mystic Art. This means that you are almost guaranteed to survive it if you aren't terribly underleveled. This means that he also won't counter with his Mystic Art for the rest of the fight, so you can use yours as much as you want now. If you want the secret mission, you just have to keep letting him use his arts, damaging him enough so that he'll use a second set of arts, which is usually below half health. A special cutscene will play during the fight if you have let him use all of them. The main thing to watch out for is when he enters Overlimit. When this happens, try to get to max health and then start running away. This is because he'll whip out his Mystic Art, which does about 2/3 of your maximum health at this point in the game. Other than that, I can't really tell you much because it does take some skill to win the fight, which I can't give you, so good luck. Finally, a fight with Zagi that has some threat. He has access to nearly every attack he's ever used, plus a whole slew of new ones. On top of that, he is also the fastest boss you have encountered at this point in the main story in both movement and attack speed. He will be constantly comboing you for a lot of damage, and you shouldn't be surprised if party members start dying. However, the tactics you used in the previous fights against Zagi should still work on him, so you can decide whatever you want for your party setup since there is no perfect setup for the fight. Also, he has a Mystic Art this time. It can one-shot you if you get unlucky. Fun. As for the secret mission, he'll use Blastia Bane, which surrounds him in a dark orb. He'll yell something 3 times and then the orb will dissipate. Sometimes, Zagi will need to catch his breath after this attack, which is when you can knock him onto the floor. The first phase of Duke's fight is designed to waste your resources, so avoid using a majority of your items in Overlimit if you can. He uses a lot of pretty powerful attacks that are both magical and physical. He can inflict with status ailments constantly, plus he can teleport around the arena and can even stop time when his health gets low. Overall, if you can't survive this phase, there is a 95% chance that you won't survive the second phase. Bring whoever you believe will make for a balanced setup, and keep in mind that you have to endure another phase after this one, and it doesn't restore anything in between phases. Do bring Yuri though, as he'll be very helpful in the second phase. This fight is very challenging, but all your resources are disposable now. However, that doesn't change Duke's obvious increase in power. He teleports all the time, constantly combos you, inflicts you with status ailments, hits very hard, and has a really powerful Mystic Art. When he uses it, your party's HP will be reduced to 1, regardless of their current HP. If you have truths from the enemies in this place, be prepared to use them every time he uses this Mystic Art. Other than that though, just keep wailing on him until he gets low on health and try to keep your HP high at all times. If you want the secret mission, make sure you can enter a level 3 or 4 overlimit. Get Duke's HP to around 15,000 health. If you have the hit plus skill equipped, this will be even easier. When his health gets within the desired area, go into overlimit level 4 or 3 on Yuri, use an arcane arc with a really fast animation to prevent him teleporting, then use Savage Wolf Fury, aka Yuri's Mystic Art, on this boss. Spam the B button as much as possible if you have hit plus activated, and he should be close to dead. Yuri will even add an extra hit to the end of his Mystic Art, because it's the final boss, which tends to deal around 2,000 to 4,000 damage. And with that, congratulations! You have beaten Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. I hope you enjoyed the boss guide. Please like, share, and subscribe if you liked it for more horrifyingly terrible content. This has been Axemmela. Goodbye!